But people have been doing it for thousands of years. You're looking at the stars and looking at ourselves because there is, I mean, it even says it in all the great texts, even in the Bible, as above, so below. So what is happening above us in the cosmos and the planets in our solar system has an influence on us here on Earth. Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, human design specialist.
And I'm Haley, the human design newbie. Listen in as we explore how leaning into your authentic self is your ultimate path to success. Welcome to the Human Design Hive podcast. Let's get into it.
Hello. Hey, Haley, how you doing?
Hi. You keep asking me a question.
How are you?
It's good.
It's good to see you again. Your smiling face. Which I will tell you, we're going to go back to the wedding again real quick. Looking at some of your wedding photos. I don't know how you managed to look so naturally smiling beautifully all the time. Like, I know, listen to you like. Everybody says she's so graceful. You did. You looked beautiful and graceful, but it is kind of funny because, like, you're not naturally a very graceful.
No.
I mean, your energy is very graceful, but your body does not move gracefully a lot of the time.
When there was one point when we were in the hotel room on the honeymoon and I kicked the couch and I stubbed my toe on the couch and Presley's like, "Do you look where you walk?"
No.
Oh, wait, no, because I also was coming back in from the porch because Presley had called my name and I come back in kind of quickly and I totally like my toe completely goes in between the like leg of this side table and I drag it for a second. He's like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, I don't know.
You're like a dog on a leash, just carrying everything with them. Come here. No, but because I was there with the photographer and I could hear, she's very quick and she'd be like, "Okay, just do this, do that," and she was great. Her name's Sarah Nann, SarahNannPhotography.com. She's really
great.
Beautiful. Maybe I should put her. I'll put her website in there. If anybody's looking for a wedding photographer in the Charleston or Colorado area, she's in Colorado.
Or she also will travel.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
beautiful.
She was great.
She did beautiful job and wonderful, sweet, light person. I just loved her to death. She was great.
She had such good energy. She was great.
She really did. She's so good at what she does. And but the images she managed to get to make it look so natural for you to just be so, elegant looking and smile. Your smile is always, it doesn't look forced is what I wanted to say, is that you definitely had this beautiful, graceful look about you. And why did I bring that? Oh, because it was nice to see your smiling face. And it really is. So,
I am smiley.
You are. It's good. You're joyful. Lot to be joyful for. So no real way to ease into this, but what we're going to talk about today, because I got really sidetracked. I said as we started recording, it's always I'm not a I guess broadcaster. I don't have any training. This is something that we're doing. It seems like everybody else podcast hosts so much better than I do as far as being natural and knowing how to, steer the conversation and when to segue into something new.
I'm not good that. I was gonna say I'm not even good at that in my like normal conversation. I'll just start talking about something completely different. Yeah, I'm not good that.
Bless.
We're professionals.
Yeah, we're professionals. That's all right. So, but what I wanted to talk about today is about the planets and planetary influence in the chart, because I think we may have touched a little bit. I meant to go back and look, but I know we've never really said, okay, if their sun is in this gate, or, the placement of where the planets are in your chart and what they represent, the areas of your life.
We've talked about them moving through and stuff like that, but never like specifically
Yeah. But, the system is large in part based on the astrology aspect
Hmm.
as far as where the planets were the moment you're born, and then 88 degrees or roughly 3 months before you were born is what is influencing your chart. And so
Hmm.
in traditional astrology, it's the same thing. Where were the planets up in the cosmos on the moment you were born? And what can that tell us about you? And there's that aspect to human design. And there are people who are way more gifted at going in depth into that than I am, people that are
Hmm.
astrologers or actual people that work with human design and astrology together. I don't have the bandwidth for that. I find it fascinating. I mean, that's where I started on all this self discovery stuff when I was a kid, was looking at astrology
Hmm.
and sun signs and what that means, being born a Scorpio, or, um, being in relationship with someone who's a Pisces or a Capricorn, like how that
Hmm.
all interacts. Because, well, we didn't have the human design system delivered to us yet back when I was a child, way back when I was a child.
In my days.
hmm But people have been doing it for thousands of years. You're looking at the
Hmm.
stars and looking at ourselves, because there is, I mean, it even says it in all the great texts, even in the Bible, as above, so below. So what is happening above us in the cosmos
Hmm.
and the planets in our solar system has an influence on us here on Earth.
Hmm.
And that's more of a transits conversation about how, as you're living your life, that's really what astrology is doing. Is astrology gives you that basis for yourself of, like, when you were born, this is characteristics you can have,
Hmm.
right? But
Hmm.
there's that also part of astrology that is showing you what's to come, right?
Like when people say Mars is in retrograde,
Exactly. Or what's coming
whatever
up.
that
And I,
means.
I would also like to highly recommend somebody I follow. Her name is Carrie Samuels. And she's an astrologer. She does astrology, numerology, and some other things too. And I just love her. She does monthly forecasts. She has lots of great tools about learning about astrology and numerology, which I paid a lot to attention to before I just discovered human design. And I still look at it, but
Hmm. Hmm.
the numerology stuff is really interesting. Really interesting.
Numerology is very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it is funny because everybody wants to call all this stuff woo woo, like it's crazy pants to believe in this stuff. But
Hmm.
I mean, more and more science is catching up. All these crazy things that people have been talking about for centuries that they didn't think was real or important is
Hmm.
like showing that, yeah, there is some kind of divining hand in this universe that they can't explain. You
Hmm.
know, the macro and the micro of the universe that they say is, if you expand out as far as we can see, is going to look the same as we try to look down to the smallest particles we can find on Earth that we can currently see.
Hmm.
They mirror each other. It's freaking crazy.
That's wild.
It is wild. And so that's, it's kind of formed my philosophy on our existence. We are kind of like cells in a body. We are all programmed for a certain
Hmm.
function. We just don't necessarily know what it is. Just
Yeah.
like scientists don't understand why certain cells in the body become liver cells or heart cells or brain cells. They have no idea how that works.
Mm-mm.
Something knows. And
Something.
it's all programmed us as well. But anyways, program sounds weird.
Hmm.
Anyways, so when we look at the planets in your birth chart, difference here with astrology is we're going to have two sets of numbers. We're going to have
Right.
planets influencing us when we were born and before we were born.
Hmm.
And when you want to look at what the planetary placements are in your chart, you can look at both because it's forming who you are. These are
Hmm.
themes. And so, when you look at your chart, we know that on the right, the red numbers, on the right, the black numbers, the personality side of your chart, the conscious side of your chart, which I
Hmm.
did an episode on that if you'd like to go back and listen to it, Haley. Um,
Oh, okay.
the red and the black, more specifically there. Um, and then, but as you move down through the chart, if you're looking at it, you're looking at the sun, the earth, the north node, south node, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. No, excuse me. I got confused because I'm looking right now at one that has Chiron, and Chiron is not a planet in our solar system. It's a planetoid, but the chart I'm looking at has Chiron.
Huh?
Yes. So let me go back. Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. And so those are the planets that you see that activate gates on your chart.
Okay.
Some charts will show you Chiron. I have it on my website now that you can go to my website, humandesignhive.com, and get your own body graph downloaded for free.
It has Chiron?
And it has Chiron on it because, as we talked about, it doesn't have an activation on the chart that you can see, but it certainly influences your life as you're moving through life, because it's a theme that you'll be working on your whole life. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about here, is what are the themes, or where in your life are the themes that are highlighted by the planets in your chart? Like, what are they going to express or govern? So the planet itself carries a theme. And then if you look at your own individual chart, what gate it's in, gives you just a little more depth of where to look for those things. So especially when people are looking for, what's my purpose? What am I here to do? What am I here to talk about? What am I here to share, learn? That's what planetary placement helps you dig into more and give you more insight into that.
Okay.
So we'll just start at the beginning, at the top, because with the sun placement, because we know that this carries, the sun and the earth carry the most prominent placements in the chart. Now, also, this is where it's a little different from astrology, is that you won't see the earth in an astrology birth chart, in a natal birth chart, but it is included in human design because of the whole neutrino stream, the influence of the neutrinos moving through. And the earth is always going to be on the astrology wheel, the mandala. It's exactly opposite. It's always dancing in opposite to the sun. To wherever the sun is, it's going to be exactly across opposite of the sun. And that's why incarnation crosses are the way they are. And a lot of them have the same earth and sun numbers, because they're always the 14, like I have the sun in gate 14 is always going to be, the earth's always going to be in gate 8. And then also flipping that, if your sun is in gate 8, you're also going to have the earth in gate 14. So incarnation cross is variation of those flipping of those two energies. Does that make sense? Okay.
Are we going to talk about conscious and unconscious together, or like separately?
We're talking about it together, because what we're going to do is the sun, like I said, what you need to think about as we're talking about these different placements is you're going to have 2 sun gate themes in your chart, because you're going to have personality side, design side, right? Personality side, you're probably going to identify with more. If somebody says, oh, you carry this energy of this.
Because that's the conscious side.
Right. But remember, the unconscious side energy is what others experience from you, that they're more aware of than you are, which, like I said, that episode, I guess, would be 31, I think was what I did. Red and Black is called. Kind of dug into that a little bit more. So the sun energy is the outer expression of what you're here to give the world. It's the gift you bring to the world. It is the main expression of the you that is you, basically.
Okay.
And so it's what you're here to give the world through your life, and what you're here to express and transmit. And it's a very powerful energy. And like I said, the gates represented by the sun energy in your chart are very prominent placements in your chart.
Right.
And you know that those are themes that are always going to be expressing through you. Again, incarnation cross, when we talked about it, a lot of the incarnation cross, the energy is what you give to the other. It's what you bring to the table, what enters the room with you wherever you are, because it is comprising of these 4 sun and earth gates in your chart.
Right.
So like, let's say, so my son is in gate 14.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's also, I have got another placement of 14 on the unconscious side, which I think plays into this a little bit. But, this is a sacral gate, so there's a lot of energy there, but it is around the energy for work and empowerment and changing and doing work that you love, going the direction that you want to go. And that if you line up with that kind of energy and you are doing work that you love, like you don't ever have to worry about resources, money, support, all of those things. It's there for you. But like if somebody had, let's see what, let's forget what your game is.
I don't remember either. And I've lost my body chart.
Body graph chart.
Body graph.
Your son, gate 63 and then gate 60 or 26. But the main theme there that you probably identify with that gate 63 is the beginning of that logical circuit. You feel like a more logical thinker, but you also bring a lot of logic to the room. And 26 is that gate of integrity, so you do bring a lot of that energy to the room and express that, and people feel that off you, which I think is true. So in the case of the gate 14, my energy is here to help empower others to find their way of doing what it is they want to do, to use their energy working towards things that they want to be doing. And especially since I'm a 4-1, if you're a 4-1, it plays, your sun gate is one of the most important things in your theme of your whole life. Small percentage of the population there, but I know a few 4-1s. If you're listening, there you go. Okay, so moving on to the earth energies. So the earth energy they'll tell you that this is what grounds you. It's what you need in order to be stable and grounded. And really, it's the things in life that you really require in order to best express your sun energy.
That makes it makes a lot of sense, because like the earth, we're very, it's very grounding. You're grounded to it. And then seeing the sun, like the sun emits all of our life force, basically. So that's very
Exactly. So it's the energy that gives you stability and supports you in strengthening your ability to express that theme of your sun energy. So you've really got to make sure that you're meeting the needs of the earth gate in order to allow that to shine. Like you said, I really like how you expressed that just now. It's very nice. I like that. Okay, so another example, because I will like to give some different examples, because I could always talk about myself, but
I mean, I love to know what it is about mine too.
I have been studying myself for some time. Okay, I can give an example. So my earth is gate 8, which is gate of contribution. And it's really also about authentic being yourself and authentic expression, because it is a throat gate. And so there's a lot, I think when you're looking at the planets and you're looking at the themes, this is where work with the gene keys and the shadows and all that stuff really come in handy, because I think it really helped me understand these gates a little bit better. But it says here the shadows are being mediocre, because the expression here in the gift expression of this contribution is authentic self. And that means being yourself, being authentic. And so that's what I need to do in order to really fully bring that sun energy forward, is I need to trust and be that it's okay to express myself, who I am, be myself, and not compromise. It's a lifelong process.
That makes a lot of sense, especially how you said the earth one is the foundation for being expressive of your sun. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And then your earth is in gate 64 and then also 45. So 64, another head gate, but it's the more abstract. It's the experience and reflection, and, having the space and the time to reflect on what has occurred, to see the patterns of what could be happening in the future. Because you've got your sun and earth gates in the 63 and 64, you've got to have time to reflect on what has occurred and for you to see the patterns in order to, logic is looking forward, is looking towards the future, and what can we do to improve upon that, right? And then your gate 45, your earth over there, that 45 coming off the throat, it's your only throat gate in an undefined throat. That is that kind of that king, queen, ruler energy. It wants to take care and protect its people. It wants to lead with integrity, which is also your other gate there. So that's, a lot of your energies there. I think it's appropriate. Anyways, we're getting more into incarnation cross there than anything. Okay, so then moving on to the north node. So the north and south node work in tandem together. So the north node or south node is themes of where you've been. They'll even say it's stuff that you brought in from a past life, some energies and things that you have that you're bringing forward to kind of transform and move into the next stage of your evolution in life. Okay. And so the south node is this theme that you're mastering for the first half of your life, basically, until you're about 40. There's a lot that happens around 40. It's not surprising that this is when, people are having their midlife crises. What used to be midlife, but now it's more like, it's more like third life crisis because we're living to be older now, longer. We're living longer. So if you're looking at your south node themes, it's like, for you, it's more prominent in your life now because you're 25 going on 26. What are the themes to be looking at and what they mean to you? For you, they're in gate 25 and also gate 17. And so 25 is a G center gate. It's about the spirit, doing things for the love of spirit and expressing that and bringing more of that into your life, but also gate 17 is a gate of opinions. It's another logic gate. It's about working with those and maybe not being too opinionated, allowing for possibility. So then the north node is, as I said, as you mature and you move on to this next stage of your life, it's the more mature self. It's they tell you, these two together kind of tell you the plot outline almost of your life, of where you're coming from and where you're going, what you're moving towards. And so they do carry a lot of influence there. You can see that it's, what you come in with, what you're going towards throughout your lifetime. Does that make sense? Okay. So whatever it is in your south node, you're meant to kind of master those themes so that later in your life, you can better express the themes that you're going to move into. Makes sense? Okay.
So the north node is more about like the expression of what you learned over the course of the south node.
Yeah, it's more, so like I said, I'm a little older. So if I were to look at my south node in the conscious size 29 gate perseverance, it's about commitment, and it's about learning how to commit. It's because it's a sacral gate. So it's like, I definitely had to learn earlier in life about what to commit to, because that's a gate that once it's committed, it stays. It has to see it through to the end. There's a lot of burnout in that gate. That's a lot of like, trying to, saying yes to things that maybe you weren't, didn't give yourself time to think about, or you went against your sacral response that you have to you end up regretting, or you end up misusing your energy. So that's something that I was here to, which I could say I did do that a lot earlier in life, of learning, because I did commit to things I didn't want to. And then, around the time I turned 40 was a lot of upheaval in my life, is when my mom, your grandmother got sick, and a lot of things were out of my control. And I had to really pare down what I was going to commit my time and my energy to, because I didn't have that much time or energy. So helped me create those boundaries. And then my north node is in gate 30, but people have been doing it for thousands of years. We're looking at the stars and looking at ourselves, because there is, it even says it in all the great texts, even in the Bible, as above, so below. So what is happening above us in the cosmos and the planets in our solar system has an influence on us here on Earth, which is really a gate of passion. Really, it's like having that energy and, to really see, because it connects there, and it's a solar plexus gate of what was I going to commit to. And now it's like, it's more about what I'm passionate about, what I want to use, what I want to have come forward, what I want to see happen, what I, really want to put my energy towards, basically. Okay. All right. So moving on, we're going to have another one of those long episodes. So if we look at the moon placements, so the moon is what drives you. They say it's a lot of your emotionality, kind of what your emotional themes are in your life, because you think the moon has this, emotional quality to it, this watery moon. And so it's your driver energies, what drives you to express the other energies in your chart. So what it is you need emotionally, or it's the why you do what you do kind of thing. Right?
Okay.
So again, I'll look at mine real quick, because I've looked at mine a lot, so I know. So I haven't looked at yours as much, but I also have my moon in gate 29. So that is also like what I want to commit to, what I'm committed to. And also the moon in gate 8, which is what's my contribution. So I need to feel that I'm contributing and that I'm making a difference, and I want to do those things in order. And so for you, your gate 19, which is that gate of sensitivity, but we also talked about in the previous episode, that was having the right support, the right people in your life, having those people around you. And
that's in the root, right?
And then your unconscious moon is gate 9, which is that focus and that concentration. That's a sacral gate, so what drives you?
So both of my moons are in my no, one is in the root, one is in the sacral.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was going to say they're both in the root, but that was wrong.
So with your moon energy there and gate 9 in the unconscious, you may not be aware of it, but really what drives you there is this big picture of what it is, where it is, how to prioritize what it is you want to focus on. And so I think my interpretation of this, with your moon being in the 19 and the 9, it is about your community, your support network, and using which is a lot of themes in your chart, is about you having that big picture awareness of what needs to be corrected and improved upon in order to bring more support and joy to those in your life and around you. So looking at the moon, you could also say, well, when, if that's what drives you, you can kind of also look at the other side of it, of when you're not in alignment with those energies, is that when you don't feel supported and you don't know which direction you're heading, you don't know where to focus your energy. Like, you really need this awareness of where to focus your energy, and in order to support those in yourself, around you. So there's that. Okay, moving on. So Mercury, harder word to say sometimes, Mercury. So it's kind of fun when we start looking at these, because these can get more specific, especially when people are wanting, like I said, to know what their purpose is and where they should, especially if they're working on building their own business or brand, or what it is they want to, be associated with, or what they're here to bring to the world. Let's say it that way. Mercury is associated with communication and about what you are here to share and communicate with the world, what you're here to actually literally talk about in the world.
In mythology, wasn't Mercury like the messenger?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just look that up real fast. Yes, the Greek god Hermes, the Roman Mercury, was the god of translators and interpreters. Served as messenger for all the other gods. So, that's correct.
Yep, interpreters and translators. That's right. So Mercury placement in your chart outlines what you're here to talk about, what you need to be able to communicate, and how you're here to do that, how you're here to speak about it. So, like I said, if you're in any kind of field where you're trying to get your message out, this is very important here to look at those placements in your chart to see, well,
Right.
how do I do that? So, like I said, when you put all this together, you can see it's not just one thing in your chart. When we are teaching about human design, we can pick apart all these little pieces that are clues, but really you can't just isolate all of it. You'll see over time as you take all these pieces that you're like, oh, you start to get this bigger picture theme of what you're here to talk about.
Yeah.
And so I have 5 and 6, I believe, gates 5 and gate 6 in my Mercury. Yeah. And so what I'm able to glean for that, and it's also harder to look at yourself than other people, which is good to, even if you know a lot about human design or you've looked at your own chart, I've still had other people look at my chart. I've paid for readings because I'm like, what do you see?
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Help me, please help.
Yeah. And it's, and like I said, a lot of the chart reading is this intuitive side to it of, and what I lean into is that it's impossible in one chart reading to give every bit of information you can about someone because it's a living
that
dynamic
would be
thing.
Yeah.
Well, it
so
explode people's brains.
Yeah.
But also I try to just trust that what comes forth in that reading is what you need to hear at that time, right? Because, you can only get so much at once. But yeah, so if you were to look at, I have gate 5, gate 6, gate 5 is like consistency. It's about having your own rhythms, about having your own schedule, things in place, things that help support you, that make you feel that you're able to use your energy the way you want to. It's having, your own personal practices that support you. And then gate 6 is in the solar plexus, and that's the gate of impact. And it's also about, holding the emotional vibration in the room. How can you keep your emotional energy in this place that is it's basically like keeping the vibe high. And so it's interesting when I look at all the, things I do like to talk about, and what I want to talk about and tell people about is like taking care of yourself, taking care of what you need and what's right for you, and not necessarily what everybody else needs. But and you have to do that through one, taking care of yourself, but that also helps keep your emotional vibration in a better place. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So you have gate 63 and also gate 58. So 63, again, a logic, looking towards the future, seeing the patterns, understanding that. But then it's also gate 58, which we talked about, that joy and that refining. So your Mercury are on the head side, I don't want to say the top, but the circuitry. You're on both ends of that circuitry, the 63 and the 58. So it is you living, which I think you do. I mean, you always try to keep people in that more looking for the good, that high vibing place of like, I know you were always saying to us, or even to me, if we get kind of in the doldrums or whatever, you'd be like, let's get this moving. Let's focus on something more positive. Let's, you do, like you said, you bring a lot of joy to the room. And so, you're Mrs. Brightside. But, that's having that sight, that vision, looking forward of what needs to be improved, and you can see a future in that way.
Is the 63 on the unconscious side or the conscious side?
That's conscious. That's your conscious sun.
Interesting.
Also,
because I don't feel like I'm a person that is looking towards the future, really.
Well, I mean, when I say looking towards the future, it's because logical circuitry is about predicting and seeing, being able to recognize patterns and see what has.
I love patterns.
Yeah. And seeing, okay, remember, it's the start of the logical, scientific hypothesis kind of thing. This is the beginning of like, what would happen if, what can happen if. It's when I say looking towards the future, it's because you're trying to, that's what the logical circuitry is about, is like, this is what we have seen has occurred based on what we know. This is what we think is going to happen, right? That's what I mean by looking towards the future. And so that's just what, and so that is a prominent placement in your chart because that is your sun energy and it's also your Mercury energy. So logic is very strong in your chart, which is very true. Very true. Okay, so moving on to Venus. Venus is associated with values. It is what you value, what you really value, and love, and it's about relationships as well. And it represents the traits and qualities and characteristics of what you value.
Okay.
And so it's also kind of what you're attracted to in romantic partners per se, or in your relationships, meaning, you know, obviously if you were to look at your partner, there's going to be a reason that you they bring certain values or things. You've got to be kind of harmonious there for you to you know, stay together. So for example, if you value loyalty and, you know, trustworthiness, these themes might be highlighted in your chart as gates and themes that are represented there. I mean, I think we should all value loyalty and trustworthiness, but
yeah, those are some good ones, but I guess some people don't care.
Yeah. And so if you were to look at yours, we'll just, you know, mix it up here a little bit. Yours is in I always get confused. No, I'm looking at Mars. So I'm looking at the wrong place. Oh, gate 37, conscious, and gate 43. Make sure I was looking at your chart. So gate 37 is the family. It's the gate of friendship. And so you value that. I would say highly value that. It is one of the most important things to you. And it's something that I think that Presley knows about you, and that, you know, it's something you value, and he can appreciate that. Even if there are parts of his life that aren't as great with family, he has also very strong ties with his family as well. And he understands that family is important. And your other Venus gate is gate 43, gate of insight. And so that's also a knowing and a knowingness gate. And so it's important for you also to have people that may be open-minded, you know, to what it is possible, and appreciating that, maybe that weirdness, the little quirkiness, that kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being a little more open-minded. I think so. Okay. So moving on. Okay. Mars. So Mars is often referred to as immature energy in a chart, and it's more like maybe themes you kind of dealt with when you were younger, your experiences of your youthful lessons, things that you kind of had to kind of learn to, I don't want to say overcome, but understand and master, because Mars is also the god of war. You know, it's like this aggressive, young, immature energy that just wants its way, right? Things you have to, yeah. So it's an area where you'll find lessons you're designed to master in your life, which is like the South Node themes. And then as we look at Saturn, that's another one too. But these can be a little bit more challenging, that themes, a little more difficult to deal with at times, but they help you support in this progression of maturity and moving forward.
Okay.
So maybe with this one, I should look at my own. And also, it's very prominent placement in the gene keys. Some of the sequences, there's different gene keys there that help you see the progression of throughout your life of things you're working on. And in the gene keys, he says in the Pearl sequence, I believe, unconscious Mars is really what he calls, or in the Venus sequence, the core wound. It's kind of like something that's always something definitely you're here to master in life.
I remember talking about that.
And then, so for me, and it's also what I'm here to then share with the world, because if it's something you learn to work with and master and heal, then that's something that you're here to help others heal with too. And so when you look at it that way, your greatest wound is also your greatest gift, right? So those are things, there's a lot in that Mars gate. So let's see. Mine's gate 4, gate 57. Well, gate 57, conscious, gate 4. And so those are themes around intuition and knowing and trusting that. And gate 4, I liken to gate 4 more in the Gene Keys expression of there's a lot of forgiveness there. The shadow side of it is intolerance of thinking you know everything. It's called youthful folly in the I Ching. Thinking you have the answers without really having anything to back it up with. But it's what also can lead to intolerance of not being able to see things any other way than your own way. And as I've talked about a lot, this has been a huge part of my life too, is moving from intolerance and only seeing it my way to working with Course in Miracles and mindfulness and all those other things to being more open-minded and forgiving a lot and allowing that in and allowing that, I don't know why things happen. They happen, but okay. Okay, so moving on to Jupiter. So Jupiter energy represents the energy of blessings and rewards. And so it kind of works in tandem with Saturn.
Okay.
And it tells you about the pathway to your gifts and what you need to share with the world to receive these blessings. So it's where you receive your rewards and blessings. Okay. So I think it's important to talk about Saturn here because Saturn is known as the great teacher. It's about discipline and it's about your learning energy. It's what you're here to learn. So there are definitely Saturn cycles in your life, and you being a line 6, it kind of lines up with that because your first Saturn return, they call it, where Saturn returns to where it was when you were born in your chart, happens around 28, 29, 30, right? There's not just one day. It's a big planet. It's out there in the world or out there in the universe. Slow. Yeah. So you'll feel this energy for a while. So paying attention to this, you're 26 almost. You're going to start maybe dealing with some of these themes in your chart around Saturn. Okay. Because it's what challenges you, and you're most likely going to experience the shadows of this gate, of these themes, I should say, and the low expression in a way that is meant to teach you and help you grow. Because there's that cycle then. And then if you look at another 29 years later, it's at the end of your 50s. And say that if you haven't, quote unquote, mastered the lessons of your Saturn return the first time around, when it comes around again, you're going to be dealing with these issues again. It's giving you a chance to be like, okay, you've had more time now. Did you learn anything? But also, if you have been working with that in your life, it doesn't mean that suddenly everything in your life is going to go bad at the end of your 50s. It means that, yeah, you did. You get to enjoy more of the blessings of what Jupiter brings to you. Okay? So I'm looking at your... So, what's interesting, your Saturn...
Oh.
Here's a little nugget for you, Haley.
Oh. Okay.
So, your Saturn gates are in gate 17, conscious, gate 25, unconscious. If that sounds familiar, it's because those are your South Node gates reversed. There's a big theme around here of thinking you know, having an opinion about what you know, and thinking that this is it, but learning to trust, how can I take what I know and use it to best serve spirit, to serve others, to be more connected to source. So it's this balance between this logical energy of wanting to mind your way through it and also being in service to what source wants from you.
Okay.
I know it's a lot to take in when you're 25, but just play with it. I mean, there's a lot of other things there, but the reward then on the other end of that, your Jupiter gates are in gate 19, gate 54. Okay, so
Okay.
again, 19 was about that energy of support and community and sensitivity and making sure everybody has what they need in order in their communities and their groups and their tribes. It's it's that nice energy there. Yeah, it's about
I think
having
I
the
have a
resources
lot
you
of.
need in order to survive, the community you need to survive, the that everybody in your community has what they need, and 54 was that gate of ambition and the gate of drive. And so it's really interesting. A lot of themes here about mastering the mundane, the material plane, to move to a more spiritual elevation of what everybody needs, right? Of what your community needs, spiritual nurture, that kind of thing, in a way. Okay. Okay, we're gonna move on. We're almost there, baby. We're almost there.
We're at Saturn, and we just did Saturn and Jupiter, so we have Uranus, Neptune, Pluto.
I probably should
Pluto's
look at
still a
what you're.
planet in this book.
So
I repeat,
Uranus,
Pluto's.
yeah. So moving on to Uranus, because we have talked about Chiron before. That's the wounded healer. It's part of your, but like I said, you're not going to see it in your chart as an
Right.
activation, but it does have influence there. So go back. We have a whole episode on Chiron. It's pretty
Because
early
it's
on.
a moon of.
It's a planetoid.
It's a planetoid.
Yeah, it's not an actual planet, but it's an
Okay.
yeah, it's a celestial
Okay.
body. Did I say celestial
had a
or
whole
celestial?
episode.
What did I just say? Okay, so Uranus, the Uranus planet placement in your chart is where it shows you where you're different. It's kind of like what makes you unique and different, a little
Okay.
strange almost. It's an
Okay.
era in your life where you kind of find growth through encountering unexpected things. It teaches you about faith and where you can expect the unexpected. And they say this is more of a generational energy. Like if you look at an astrology chart, when you start looking at like Neptune, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, it'll give you this more generational aspect theme because it takes so long for this planet. Uranus is, I
Right.
think, 84 years because the Uranus opposition happens when you're around 40-ish. Again, that's another heavy influence in your early 40s is this Uranus opposition, right?
It's a whole lot.
Halfway. Yeah, it's halfway.
Mhm.
So that's why it's generational, because there is going to be a whole generation of people experiencing this theme over 84 years, right? Now, that's in the astrology aspect. But if you look at the human design aspect within that 84 years, it's also going to travel through different gates, right? So some people, like I have 2 gate placements. It switched, or it could have gone retrograde actually, because the planets move back and forth, which is why you also see variations. They go into retrograde patterns where it appears to be going backwards, but it's not. But so
is that like actually in space it's doing that, or like
the way we are in space and the way that we observe it, the way we see it, it looks that way, but it's not technically.
okay? So technically, it's still going forward, but how we see it looks like it's going backwards.
And so how we chart it in an astrological chart,
okay,
in relation to all the other planets, it looks like it's going a certain direction.
okay.
So it affects things. But so I have 2 Uranus placements. I have gate 48 and gate 18. So those are themes I could look at around that, which is the well and correction, depth and correction. That's my uniqueness. My weirdness comes really deep. I like to get into things, which is pretty true. And you just have one theme there. It's gate 41, which is that visionary, that energy we talked about before. Gate 41 is the start of the creative process through the sacred, or through the root there, the root energy. Having a vision. You might have a vision that others can't see, that can't really always, you might see things a little differently, or the vision you have for the future might be a little different than those around you. So that's your weirdness. And where you can expect the unexpected. So Neptune is your spiritual theme, and it's they call Neptune the veiled planet because it has the mist around it, I believe. It has
Oh.
its atmosphere. You can't really see Neptune.
Oh yeah,
Did
it
you know
is
that?
kind of like very smooth
Gaseous.
looking.
Yes, a gaseous.
It's very gassy.
Gaseous. So it is what they say, it's what your spiritual purpose is and what you need in order to deepen a spiritual connection. And it can feel sometimes hard to connect with and kind of in an intangible in nature because it's harder for you to understand that. Now remember, other people might see it, but you might not. And especially if you're looking at, your unconscious placements. But basically Neptune is what you need to it helps you understand what to do in order to stay spiritually connected, right? So again, this is another place where some people can have the same gate or different gate themes. So yours gate 60 and gate 61. So
I have 2.
Mm-hmm. And isn't that interesting? Remember, we talked about this in the last episode. Gate 60 is the gate of limitation. It's at the bottom of the chart, which is the start of the mutative pulse up towards the throat. And gate 61 is on the other in the mystery. So being open to the mystery of what's to come, of being grateful. Gratitude is going to be very important for you to help you stay connected spiritually. It's going to be a very important practice to your spiritual journey is gratitude. True.
It's a good thing I got that joyous channel too.
You got that what?
The joyous channel.
It's no wonder you've always been just I've been so grateful. There's such sense of joy in my life. So
you did say I was a happy baby.
Incredibly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, love you. Love you, Ken. Okay. So lastly, Pluto. Says Pluto is where you're here to expand. It's also, again, these are generational themes. So it's also a challenge for this generation, whatever these themes are. And it's kind of, Pluto is also associated with rebirth, death and rebirth.
Well, it has gone through that a couple times in its planet status.
That's right. So, where you grow, evolve, and transform through release and rebirth. And so your Pluto's in gate 34. Okay. As you grow and change, so gate 34 is the gate of power, personal power. It comes off the sacral, right? Okay. And so as you grow and change, your experience of what personal power means also changes, and how you use that power is something for you to learn. It's something you may be challenged by, of what it means to exert your own personal power, but also it's where you're going to expand of how you use that in a way that your experience of personal power matures over your lifetime. That's through human design. There's going to be other things that astrology looks at, which I will not, because I am in no way near, I think, qualified to speak on that. I mean, even this part here is enough that, I think it's important to share what I do know and what I can share, because it helps you as you're looking at your own chart to say, it's one thing to know that you have, say, gate, 43 highlighted in a chart, but it's also another thing to know where in your chart it's highlighted, because those are areas in your life you can look at to apply those themes, which is why it's important. And I don't have this on my website, my body graph, but I think you can look at other, like genetic matrix, but I think you'd have to have a subscription genetic matrix, one of their paid plans, in order to go deeper into the astrology aspects there. But each planet shows up in your chart in a different house, and that's other themes that you can look at, but that is astrology and that's not human design. So we're just talking about human design themes in your chart and what is highlighted in your chart through what planet placement. And that is all of it.
All of the
Any
planets.
questions? Any questions? So many questions.
No, that was a lot. That was a lot of information. I liked it though.
I know. I was hoping it's not too much.
No, it wasn't too much. It was a lot, but it was not too much.
But I will say, and I think I've already said it, but I want to say it again so that everybody gets that, is that when you're looking at your own chart, it's important, yes, to see the activations and everything. And I think starting out, most importantly, is working on your type and your authority. So you can start really type in authority because it shows you how to learn to trust yourself and to learn to get more into your body and understanding time and timing and how things feel. But if you're wanting to look at really what lessons or themes or anything, really look at if you have multiple placements in your chart. A lot of times you will, especially in those outer placements, people may have highlighted conscious and unconscious. But if you have repeating gates in your chart and you see them, it's really good to start honing in and looking at what those themes are. And
I feel like I have several.
You do. I think most people will. You're going to have overlapping. I have a lot. And like same as you have some of your sun gate is highlighted elsewhere in the chart. Which so that means that that's definitely a theme that you're working with, learning about, all that stuff. I have the same thing. I have my sun is also in my sun. It's also in my Neptune. So my sun energy is also Neptune on my unconscious side, and they're both line 4. So it's about relationships, and my network is probably one of the reasons why there is this feeling of like, okay, I'm supposed to have this really great, because they say gate 14 is about money and resources. Like you're supposed to be lucky, you'll be flush, but it's also my Neptune. No, with Neptune, it's veiled. It's hidden from me. I don't always see it. I don't really connect to it. Right. It's harder. That's a spiritual lesson there of like learning to,
but it's your sun, and it's
yeah. So it's like, oh, I get it. I'm like supposed to look into that more. And same as, I've got gate 8 in my earth, and it's also in my moon. My sun and earth on the conscious side and my north and south node are, 59 and 55. I mean, they're highlighted there twice. I think I have it somewhere else too. So there's a lot of themes that can help me look at, really, I think we can look at the shadow side or the lower expression, because it's usually what it's easier for us to tap into. But like I talked about in the other episode about the red and the black, it's also where you can look at, but I have this energy in all forms, right? It's highlighted in my chart. So that means I have access to it consistently in the positive as well. So what can I do to lean into that? So anyways, I've been wanting to talk about the planets for a while. So there we go.
Yeah. No, I mean, they play a big part. That's where our definition is. Oh.
Yeah. And so I think, maybe one time we can talk more about what the transits, how they influence things as well. But that again is not my expertise, but I do have a working knowledge of it, so to speak. But that'll be in another episode. So yeah, that's it for today. And I appreciate everybody sticking around and listening to that. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me directly. You can DM me, Instagram, or send me an email. All the contact information is there in the show notes. And also, if you want help walking through your own chart and what you need to know now about your chart, try booking a reading. Maybe we can get into it and have some fun. So that's all I'm going to say today. What are you going to do with the rest of your day today? Don't know.
Get ready for the work week.
Woohoo!
Yay! Gotta go grocery shopping. I need to go to Costco.
I need to go eat.
Yeah, the dog needs food.
All right. Well, it's fun spending time with you, Haley, and with you also out there listening. So with that, we will say goodbye and catch you in the next episode. So have a good day and goodbye.
Bye.
You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.